I spent 5 years in the game with Kingpin, the school beauty. As her in-game partner, I carried her from bronze all the way to king rank. Later, I left a single message, "I'm terminally ill. Don't miss me," and disappeared. Years later, we met again on a gaming variety show. She had become a top-tier actress, while I was a D-list actor riddled with scandals. I smiled softly and bought a resurrection item. The actress looked at me coldly. A white moonlight is better off dead. But later, when she truly received the news of my death, the always cool, the noble her completely broke down. At the filming set of the gaming variety show, I purposely registered a new alt account. Unexpectedly, my agent secretly switched it to my main account, Meng Mingyu. As soon as that name appeared, the live comment section exploded. Meng Mingyu isn't that Liu the actress? That white moonlight who supposedly died early. Trading or selling accounts is forbidden in Sunset Jianghu. How did Jiang Heoken get it? Did he get close to the game company's big boss? Jiang Heoken really will do anything for clout. Let's just watch him crash and burn. Everyone on site held their breath. Liu raised her head and looked at me. Her beautiful eyes were filled with coldness. My hands trembled slightly. My phone nearly slipped from my grasp. I never imagined my identity would be revealed like this. The one I once longed for was right before me. But I didn't even have the right to admit who I was. A male guest beside us feigned surprise. I didn't expect Heoken to have played this game and be such a high level. Looks like we'll be relying on Heoken to carry us today. At that moment, Liu Yi's gaze was like a blade, piercing through me. The mocking comments on screen didn't stop either. I stayed silent, wishing I could vanish. This game used to be the one I excelled at. I could multitask, but thinking of Liu Yi's gaze, I couldn't focus at all. After another mistake, my HP bar hit 0. The game character on screen collapsed suddenly, staring at the figure waiting to respawn. I couldn't help but look up at Liu Yi. Her head was lowered, her slender fingers tapped lightly on the screen. Under her control, the game character moved with agility. Every attack was precise and flawless. With Liu Yi's final strike, the game ended. Liu Yi placed the phone on the table. She coldly said to me, "Mr. Jiang, if it's not your own account, don't play like it is." My hand gripping the phone froze suddenly. Because of my poor performance, the live comments became even harsher. Yi has always been gentle and polite to everyone, but this attitude today, she must have found out about Jiang Heoken's dirty secrets. After the show ended, Liu Yi quickly walked outside. I followed her instinctively. Carefully, I asked, "Miss Liu, can we talk?" Liu Yi raised her eyelids. With a cold expression, she said, "Are we that familiar?" A tight, sharp pain spread from my chest and traveled through my whole body. I whispered just now that. Liu Yi coldly interrupted me. "If you're dead, then stay dead completely. Don't come back and disgust others like a zombie." I froze in place. So she had recognized me long ago. I watched as she walked away step by step, my fists clenched tightly. I didn't even notice my nails digging into my palms. Liu Qian appeared at some point. She asked softly, "Are you okay?" Swallowing the suffocating pain, I asked her, "Liu Qian, I clearly gave you my alt account. Why did it log into my main account?" Liu Qian's eyes flickered slightly. Before she could speak, my heart sank heavily. "Why did you do this?" "I told you not to touch that account." Liu Qian apologized with a guilty look. "The company thought your main account had a high rank and could boost your popularity. Who knew today's mystery guest would be Liu Yi?" It totally backfired. She sighed softly. I closed my eyes. I couldn't say a word. Noise from the entrance reached me. A large group of reporters and paparazzi had already gathered. Liu Yi was surrounded, right in the center. Those reporters were like sharks smelling blood, their expressions excited and sharp. The questions came one after another. "Actress Liu, what are your thoughts on Jiang Heoken logging into the account Meng Mingyu? Were you really in a relationship with the owner of the Meng Mingyu account in the past?" I stopped at the corner, watching Liu Yi's back. A sudden tightness gripped my chest. The next second, Liu Yi's cold voice rang out, "No. It was just a bet made in our youth, nothing more." Her words hit like a sledgehammer, smashing into my heart. Night fell. I curled up in my small apartment. Rain started to fall outside the window. Liu Yi's words had already stirred a huge storm online. Netizens started editing past game clips and comparing them to my gameplay today. Combined with Liu Yi's attitude earlier, the two of us quickly shot to the trending topics. Jiang Heok Ongjae Liu Yi by using Meng Mingyu's account. Liu Yi denies being in a relationship with Meng Mingyu. Says it was just a childish bet. Jiang Heok brought shame upon himself. My phone rang again and again. Countless messages flooded my DMs, all filled with vicious curses and insults. I had faced this kind of hate since I entered the industry. I should be used to it by now. But tonight, it cut like blades. Every slash drew blood, because every hateful comment contained the name that brought me pain. Liu Yi. Holding my phone, I stopped at Liu Yi's post from years ago about a private memory. Suddenly, the post vanished into thin air. Panic surged in my chest. I exited and reopened the app. Liu Yi had just posted something new on Weibo. There was never a white moonlight. It was nothing but a ridiculous act of youthful recklessness. In just a single sentence, everything we once had was denied and overturned. Within just a few minutes, that Weibo post received tens of thousands of comments. The top comment read, "I watched the game footage. I suspect Jiang Heoken is actually Meng Mingyu, but Yi only found out today. The untouchable white moonlight is gone. Yi must have been deeply hurt." On my bedside, two figurines stood closely together. They were a gift from Liu Yi years ago, back when Sunset Jianghu had just become popular. The first limited edition figurines had just been released. He stayed up all night after filming, and still queued for hours to send them to me right away. Along with the figurines was an audio message from Liu Yi. "Mingyu, let's meet." Back then, Liu Yi's voice was gentle and carried a soft smile. I agreed, but I didn't show up. A loud thunderclap roared. A bolt of lightning tore through the sky. I snapped back to reality. Liu Yi's cold expressions and words from earlier resurfaced in my mind. Then I realized something was off. She had never seen me before, so how could she possibly know that I was Meng Mingyu? At that thought, I clutched my phone tightly and dashed out the door into the pouring rain. By the time I stood in front of Liu Yi's villa, I was already soaked through. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath, and nervously rang the doorbell. After a long while, the door slowly opened. When Liu Yi saw me, her expression turned grim as she said, "Why are you here?" I didn't answer. From the first day I entered Showbiz, I already knew her address. She once told me, "Wait until I make it big. I'll definitely buy a house in the most expensive part of the city and decorate it according to my taste as our new home." I pushed down the bitterness in my chest and, leaning against the door, asked with a trembling voice, "Liu Yi, when did you know I was Meng Mingyu?" She stayed silent, looking at me with a cold expression. That silence made me uneasy for no reason. I spoke dejectedly. "That day, I did go to the meeting." But Liu Yi interrupted coldly, "It doesn't matter." I spoke urgently. "How can it not matter?" Suddenly, a male voice came from behind her. "Annie, where's my pajama?" I stared blankly at the man behind Liu Yi. He looked surprised to see me too, but soon gave a polite smile and said, "There's a guest. In this heavy rain, why not let them in?" He was close and casual with Liu Yi. I felt like an intruder in someone else's territory. Liu Yi held the doorknob, her voice tinged with impatience, and said, "Just someone irrelevant." I stumbled back awkwardly, pain churning in my chest. With all my strength, I forced out a sorry. "Sorry for disturbing you." Liu Yi's beautiful brows barely moved as I walked out of her home. The rain fell harder. In my ears, it was as if I heard Liu Yi's voice. "Mingyu, don't wait for me to log in tonight. I have a rain scene shoot as the lead. It'll probably go until midnight." "Mingyu," I added extra lines to the script for this role. "Mingyu, don't go to the theater." My scenes got cut. I still remember how tough it was for her back then. Now she's finally out of that hard life. I should be happy for her. But why does my heart feel like it's been pierced with a knife? The pain is unbearable. Maybe I'm just a very selfish person too. All the strength in my body. It felt like all my strength had been drained. I just felt so tired. A car drove toward me from a distance. drawn by the headlights. I unknowingly walked into the middle of the road. Suddenly, someone grabbed my arm forcefully. My whole body was pulled away. I collapsed on the ground from the force. Liu Qian's angry voice rang out, "Jiang Heoken. What are you doing?" I looked at her. Like a child who had done something wrong, I muttered an automatic apology, "Sorry." Liu Qian's expression softened slightly. She sighed and helped me into the car, looking at me disapprovingly. "What made you think of going to Liu Yi's place?" Thinking of that cold and stunning face, my hands involuntarily clenched. Seeing me silent, Liu Qian sighed again. "What you did was really dangerous. Do you know how many people are watching you?" I lowered my head and said hoarsely, "Liu Qian, I won't do it again." Liu Qian brought me home. Before she left, she pulled a script from her bag and handed it to me. "Don't think too much right now. This is the new movie the company got for you. You're playing the third male lead. Filming starts in a week. Use these next few days to prepare well." I took the script. Liu Qian added, "The female lead is Liu Yi." I froze on the spot. Liu Qian quickly followed up, "You don't have many scenes with her. Avoid her if you can." After Liu Qian left, I was alone in the room. That suffocating feeling overwhelmed me once more. My hands trembled as I opened the drawer. Finally, I saw the small bottle labeled amitriptyline. I fumbled to get the pills to my mouth. I had been suffering from depression for 5 years. From moderate to severe. Even Liu Qian didn't know about it. It was my secret. A week later, I arrived on set. Just as I sat down, I heard a commotion outside. Liu Yi walked in, dressed in casual clothes. Wearing a duckbill cap, she looked in my direction as she entered the makeup room. For a moment, I mistakenly thought she looked at me, but the male lead, Song Jingnian, walked past me, smiling as he greeted, "Yi Ji, you're here." Liu Yi's gaze swept over me. Not even pausing for a second, I lowered my eyes, feeling a bitter taste on my tongue. She must truly despise me now. And yet, I still thought she was looking at me. Just then, someone suddenly shouted, "Did you all see the trending news? It's wild. So dramatic." Jiang Heoken showed up in the rain and turned it into a tragedy. The previously noisy makeup room fell completely silent. The person noticed something was wrong. They glanced around, and their eyes landed on me. "Teacher Jiang." I tried to force a smile, to ease the awkwardness, but all I got were even more awkward stares. Just then, my assistant came rushing in, handing me a phone. "Heoken Jae, look at this." I took the phone. A photo popped up on the screen. It was of me, drenched, standing in front of Liu Yi's door. The person taking the photo had clearly avoided capturing Liu Yi herself. Intentionally, they just labeled her name off to the side. That visit was a moment of impulse. I never meant to cause trouble for Liu Yi. I stepped forward, trying to explain through the phone. When Liu Yi's cold voice cut through, "Mr. Jiang, I just want to focus on filming. I don't want to become your publicity stunt. Have some self-respect." She then turned and went into her private lounge. The staff, who were already whispering among themselves, began openly pointing and gossiping about me. How shameless is Jiang Heoken? Teacher Liu Yi already made it so clear. He even went to her house to harass her. He's acting like a creepy stalker fan. Probably hired the paparazzi himself. The mocking comments came one after another. I stood frozen in place, like I'd been nailed to a pillar of shame. Suddenly, a voice broke the suffocating atmosphere around me. "The entertainment industry really is exciting. Every day is so entertaining." I turned my head. Shen Qing walked in with a faint smile on her lips. Everyone greeted her as she entered. Shen Qing was the second female lead in this drama. She was also the second daughter of the Jinshi group. She walked a few steps forward and stopped in front of me. Looking at me, she slightly raised her brow. "Your face is decent. Too bad your tactics are pathetic." Everyone assumed I staged it all myself. My hands started trembling uncontrollably. I didn't even notice when my phone began ringing. Until Shen Qing reminded me, "Aren't you going to answer that?" I snapped back to my senses and almost desperately fled the room. On the other end, Liu Qian's voice sounded tired. "Heoken, I've asked the crew for leave on your behalf. Come back to the company first." I lowered my eyes and responded, "Okay." Outside the company building, a crowd of Liu Yi's fans had already gathered. Those frenzied fans were holding megaphones, shouting, "Jiang Heoken, Get out of the entertainment industry. I looked out through the car window, and a deep pain rose in my heart. I had gotten so close to Liu Yi. Inside the company meeting room, President Zhang sat sternly and said coldly, "Jiang Heoken, you really are unbelievably stupid." I stood there with my head down, letting him throw the documents at me, without saying a word. He shouted furiously, "Take a good look yourself. Look how many partners have messaged us to cancel contracts with you." Liu Qian tried to mediate from the side. "President Zhang, calm down. Heoken didn't mean to. He didn't mean to." President Zhang slammed the table. "Didn't mean to? Then why did he run off and harass Liu Yi? Let Jiang Heoken clean up the mess he made himself. Right now, go ask Liu Yi to make a public statement. Get this scandal under control." Liu Yi's cold, indifferent expression surfaced in my mind again. My fingertips turned icy. My scalp tightened. I spoke up. "President Zhang, I'm sorry. I can't." President Zhang glared and cursed. "You can't. The breach penalties total over 10 million. Can you afford to pay that? Don't forget how much debt the company paid off for you." My whole body trembled. I tasted blood between my teeth. I said bitterly, "Give me a little more time." I returned to the apartment in a daze. On the apartment door were the words "pay back" painted in red. I quickly stepped back. Suddenly, a large rough hand landed on my shoulder. "Big Star's back, huh? Your place sure wasn't easy to find." I stiffly turned around. Several men had surrounded me. The man in the lead looked at me maliciously. He pulled a photo from his pocket and slammed it hard against me. The photo showed a sunny day. My mom was sitting on a bench at the nursing home, smiling. The man snarled in my ear, "Jiang Heoken, pay your debt now, or I won't mind sending your mom down to join. You're short-lived, deadbeat dad." My blood instantly turned to ice. Not until they left did I clutch my mom's photo tight, slide down the door, and collapse on the floor. In that moment, a silent hatred grew in my heart. I hated those scammers who tricked my dad into investing. I hated my dad for taking his own life, leaving me with such a mess. But most of all, I hated myself for failing so badly. When I came back to my senses, I had already returned to the set. I knocked on Liu Yi's dressing room door. Liu Yi looked up. There was a bit of impatience between her fine brows. I lowered my head. Cautiously, I said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Liu. What happened before was reckless of me. I disturbed you. Could I trouble you to help clarify that incident?" "I promise." I didn't even finish before Liu Yi cut me off. I never respond to such ridiculous gossip. Liu Yi looked at me with a half-smile. "Besides, it's not like you're the only one with this kind of story. One more rumor won't make a difference." That one sentence struck me deep in my chest. I gave a bitter smile. I really wanted to tell her how tired I was. "Liu Yi, I'm at my breaking point." I slowly closed my eyes and reopened them. Then I knelt heavily. My knees hit the floor with a dull thud. With a hoarse voice, I said, "Liu Yi, I'm begging you, please have mercy." Liu Yi's pupils suddenly contracted. She stood frozen in place. But after a moment, she turned away, then said coldly, "Jiang Heoken, I didn't expect you'd sink to such depths without any bottom line." There was even a trace of anger in Liu Yi's eyes. She finished speaking, got up, and opened the door to leave. "Don't dirty my space." I endured the stabbing pain and stood up, walking out of the dressing room. Liu Qian came over and asked, "Heoken, how did it go? Did Liu Yi agree?" I shook my head. Disappointment flashed across Liu Qian's face. She said, "Liu Yi has always been proud and aloof. I should have known it wouldn't work." But as she spoke, President Zhang suddenly paused. He looked at me and said, "Heaven never seals all exits. I'll head back to the office and work on a PR draft. Heoken, do you need a ride?" I said calmly, "Don't worry about me, Liu Qian. I can walk you out myself." I walked out of the set. Like a wandering ghost, I drifted along the Wanjiang Highway. I climbed over the guardrail, feeling the stronger wind from the river. If only the wind could carry me away too. Wouldn't that be nice? Suddenly, my phone vibrated. I took it out and looked. A photo of Liu Yi flashed across the screen. In the photo, she was dripping with sweat, but her smile shone as bright as the sun. Text from Bihong floated above the photo. "Keep working hard today too. Meng Mingyu. This is Liu Yi." This photo was taken years ago. when she was just an extra on set. I had set it as a reminder. It pops up every day at noon. It's like seeing her. Gives me the courage to start a new day. Years ago, Liu Yi fought hard every day just to land a small role. Now she's surrounded by stars, completely out of reach. In just a few short years, everything has changed dramatically. Just as I was lost in thought, a deafening roar of a sports car came from behind me. I turned to look. A dazzling, expensive sports car was speeding in my direction. The high beams flashed, and I instinctively raised my hand to block my eyes, but my phone slipped from my hand into the river. My heart dropped. Without thinking, I tried to climb over the rail to jump, but someone suddenly grabbed me and pulled me back down. I hit the ground hard, still in shock. A cold voice rang in my ear. A male celebrity trying to jump into the river? Well, I've seen it all today. I looked up. Only then did I clearly see the person standing above me. Shen King lowered her gaze. There was a faint smile at the corner of her lips. So, you've left the set. Not even calling me teacher Shen King now. I didn't respond. I just turned to glance at the rolling river. I must have lost my mind earlier, actually thinking of retrieving the phone. Shen King, who I had ignored, sounded annoyed. I'm talking to you. The pain from the scraped palm only hit me then. I forced myself to stand up, then said, Thank you, teacher Shen King. I wasn't trying to kill myself. My phone just fell in. After saying that, I turned and left. Without a phone, it looked like I'd be walking home today. Suddenly, someone grabbed my hand. Before I could react, Shen King had shoved me into her sports car. And since I'm playing the good person today, I'll give you a free ride too. I was just about to refuse, but walking back and getting photographed like this, who knows how many news articles will pop up online tomorrow. Thinking that, I wearily gave her my address. Shen King stepped on the gas. The sports car sped off like a rocket. Maybe it was because I hadn't eaten for too long. My stomach started to burn and cramp. I clutched my aching stomach. Shen King glanced sideways at me. Raising an eyebrow, she said, Can't handle this kind of speed? I looked out at the dark night outside the window and calmly said, I used to have a sports car like this too. Whenever I was upset, I'd go drive through the mountains at night. Shen King showed interest, and then I pulled a faint smile, and then there was no then. After my father took his life, what he left behind nearly crushed me. That night, on the mountain road, I really wanted to end everything. Just as I was about to floor the gas pedal and drive off the cliff, a voice from the radio spoke up. Rising star Liu Yi's box office smash. It's blowing up online. I stopped what I was doing. The next day, I sold that sports car, used the money to take my mom abroad. Before I knew it, we had already arrived at my apartment building. Snapping out of it, I said, Here. As I opened the door, Shen King grabbed me. So free. Not even going to invite me up for a glass of water? Such a straightforward adult hint. I pretended not to understand, smiled and said, It's too late. I'll treat teacher Shen to coffee at the set tomorrow. As I stepped out of the car, I looked up toward the stairwell nearby. Liu Yi was standing there, staring straight at me. Shen King called my name, then got out of the car too. She followed my gaze and saw Liu Yi. She chuckled and said, Well, isn't this interesting? At the same time, Liu Yi was already walking toward us. When she reached me, she stopped in her tracks. With a sharp tone, she said, Jiang Heoken, I really underestimated you. You found a new sugar mommy so fast. I originally wanted to ask her, Why did you show up outside my apartment? But all the words I wanted to say got stuck in my throat. I instinctively reached out to grab her hand, but she abruptly shook me off. Stay away from me. You disgust me. I stood frozen in place. Suddenly, I was pulled into an embrace. Shen King tiptoed and kissed me. I was about to push her away, but she had already stepped back. I felt like I had completely frozen. Standing still, staring blankly at Liu Yi. The emotion in her eyes was so deep, I couldn't look away. Suddenly, Shen King's voice, laced with amusement, rang in my ear. Liu Yi, your words are really harsh. We're both single. What's wrong with dating? How is that finding a sugar daddy? After a long silence, Liu Yi smiled faintly. She stared at me for a while and said word by word, Then I wish you both a love stronger than gold. That sentence tore my heart into two. After saying that, she pressed down her cap and walked away without a trace of hesitation. I watched her leave. My hand trembled slightly at my side. I had neither the right nor the status to call her back. Not until her figure disappeared did I turn to Shen King, suppressing the pain. In a calm yet bitter tone, I asked, "Was that fun?" Miss Shen King raised her brows, as if surprised by my reaction. I spoke coldly. "If you've had your fun, then go home. I'm just a nobody. I can't play these games of yours." Shen King paused. She tilted her head slightly, her expression filled with naive ignorance of the real world. "You're so stubborn. Am I not better than Liu Yi? I can give you more resources." I gave a faint smile. "People like you. How could you ever understand the value of a sincere heart? We're not from the same world. No matter what I say, you'll never get it." Shen King's face darkened. "You don't know what's good for you." After saying that, she got in the car and sped away. The next day, I had just arrived at the set when I was surrounded by reporters. "Jiang Heoken, photos of you kissing Shen King were taken yesterday. Are you switching partners because you couldn't get Liu Yi? Someone exposed that. You were kept by a rich woman in high school, wearing luxury brands and riding in sports cars to school. Do you have a response?" Their questions were sharp and aggressive, some even shoving me. I couldn't even stand steadily. Then came the roar of an engine. Shen King's sports car had arrived too. The reporters quickly turned their attention to Shen King. "What is your relationship with Jiang Heoken?" Shen King took off her sunglasses and glanced at me. "A 1-minute lover," then she walked away coolly. The reporters were instantly thrilled. I stood among them like a joke. Security quickly rushed in. I looked up past the crowd and saw Liu Yi sitting next to the director, watching coldly. It felt like a galaxy stretched between us. She was radiant, and I was disgraced. Even though the reporters were driven away, I was a mess. I walked up to the director. "Director," my apology hadn't even left my lips when he said, "HAOCHEN, I've thought it over. You might not be the right fit for this role. Our production wants to focus on the film's quality. We don't need actors who bring too much controversy." My hand at my side clenched tightly. I looked at Liu Yi. "Is this the director's decision, or?" Liu Yi lowered her eyes, studying the script in her hand, as if I didn't exist. I tried to speak, but my throat was so dry. It felt like it had been scraped by sandpaper, like an invisible hand was choking me tightly. I couldn't say a word. A moment later, I bowed deeply. "Understood. Sorry for causing trouble to the crew, director." Seeing my resignation, the director seemed satisfied. I walked past him again and stopped a few steps from Liu Yi. "Teacher Liu, I wish you a brilliant future in the industry." Liu Yi looked at me for a long time, then asked with a frown, "Have you ever regretted it?" I froze on the spot. Regret what? Regret giving her up back then? Or regret returning to the entertainment industry, just to get close to her again? After a moment, I heard my own voice, clearer than ever before. I looked into Liu Yi's eyes as they slowly turned to ice, as if they were about to freeze me. She said, "I never want to see you again." At that moment, my assistant got a call and rushed over. "Brother Heoken, the company has been trying to call you. They want you back immediately." My phone had fallen into the river yesterday, no SIM card yet. I turned and looked back at Liu Yi. I don't regret it. Back at the company, I had already prepared myself to be scolded. But President Zhang just squinted at me. While I was feeling uneasy, he casually tossed a script over. "This is a new film from director Peter. The company got you." My heart dropped. That man is known for making erotic films, famous overseas. It's all for chasing international awards. I said coldly, "President Zhang, I won't take it." Zhang sneered, "Jiang Heoken, do you think you still have a choice? You're doing this movie whether you want to or not. Even if you don't, I'll make you." Liu Qian pushed the door open and came in, her eyes filled with a trace of sympathy as she looked at me. "She said the nursing home couldn't reach you. Your mother had a heart attack after seeing the news. You'd better go to the hospital to see her one last time." That hit me like a hammer blow, leaving my head spinning. One last time? I forced a smile and asked Liu Qian, "You're joking with me, right? My mom's been mentally unstable for years. How could she have seen the news?" Liu Qian shook her head, Just go now. If you're late, you might not even get to say goodbye. As I rushed out of the office, President Zhang's cold voice came through. So, what if his mother died? 1 week later, get him tied up and brought into the crew. When I arrived at the hospital, my mother had already been wheeled into the ICU. Just days ago, the person in the photo was still smiling so warmly. Now she lay there silently, with tubes inserted all over her body. I stood outside the ICU, frozen, trembling all over from the cold. A doctor approached me. Are you the patient's family? Go in and have a look. It's like she has an unfinished wish, holding on with her last breath. Those words pierced my heart. It felt like my blood turned into tears, pouring out of my eyes uncontrollably. I dragged my heavy feet into the ICU. Carefully, I said, Mom, it's Haeoken. Can you hear me? Mom opened her eyes. A tear slid from the corner of her eye. She raised her hand and gently stroked my face. Haeoken, don't cry. I couldn't even remember how long it had been since I saw my mother this clear-headed. This long-lost gentleness made my tears fall even harder. The next moment, I wiped my face messily with my sleeve, forcing myself to smile. I'm not crying, Mom. You have to get better. I've made a lot of money now. I'll soon be able to pay off all the debts. Dad is gone, but I can still give you a good life. Mom didn't reply. Her expression was full of guilt. You've lost so much weight. It must have been hard these years. I held her hand and shook my head. Mom, it wasn't. She smiled at me gently. It's Mom who held you back. Go live your own life from now on. I just watched my mother close her eyes full of longing. I screamed out with all my strength. A piercing alarm went off. The lines on the monitor suddenly flattened into a straight line. My mother's hand finally slipped heavily from mine. The string that had been stretched taut completely snapped. I couldn't stop the pain in my chest. It was completely uncontrollable. I bent over and fell heavily to my knees. Very few people came to Mom's funeral. Liu Qiang came and glanced around. She set down the bouquet and said, Help Haeoken. If you insist on refusing, then the company will take you to court and demand an astronomical compensation. Her tone seemed helpless, but carried a veiled threat. Your mother is gone, but the living still have to move forward. It's just filming a movie. As long as you're alive, there's always hope. The sunlight was so blinding, I couldn't open my eyes. I raised my hand to shield my face and calmly said, I understand. Qian-ji, Liu Qian sighed in relief. All right, I'll pick you up for work tomorrow. After she left, I remained kneeling in front of the tombstone, gently wiping my mother's photo. She was still smiling gently at me in the picture. But from now on, I was alone in this world. As I left the cemetery, I noticed across the street, a black business van was parked. It looked like the one Liu Yi used often. I gave a self-deprecating smile. I couldn't believe I still had such ridiculous thoughts. Liu Yi had said she never wanted to see me again. Back home, I dug out a suitcase I hadn't used in years. Once everything was packed, I sat in front of the sofa and opened Weibo. Every day, people left comments under my account. Gradually, my engagement rate even surpassed that of many top-tier celebrities. As soon as I started the live stream, countless users flooded into the room. The screen was instantly filled with hateful comments. I ignored them, waved at the camera and said, Hello, everyone. I am Jiang Haeoken. The reason I started this live stream today is to tell everyone a story about Meng Mingyu. As my words fell, the view count in the top right corner exploded, rushing past 1 million. Once upon a time, there was a young master from a wealthy family who knew nothing of sorrow in his life. His biggest worries were just college, final exams, or not being able to beat the final boss in a game. As I spoke, I picked up an old phone I hadn't used in years and opened * Sunset Rivers and Lakes *. I entered the long-forgotten username and password. With a flash of light, the character Meng Mingyu appeared on screen. I controlled the character, wandering aimlessly on the map, murmuring to myself. Later, he met someone in the game, a minor actor from the bottom tier. The man ran background roles on set every day. Sometimes he'd have to wait all day, just for one scene to shoot. When bored, he could only pass the time with games. So the two became teammates. The actor was very skilled at gaming, together with the boy. They cleared all the dungeons in the game. And the boy, in every way he could think of, supported the small actor. He showed up whenever the actor needed him, to talk and listen. Whether it was late at night or early in the morning, he watched the actor's movies, dramas, and even commercials. Even if the actor was just in it for a few seconds, the boy would still watch them countless times. At this point, I let out a silent laugh and guided the game character to the place where the game's final boss was located. I slowly walked inside and continued speaking as they shared everything. They went from teammates to lovers. On the day they planned to meet, something happened in the boy's family. His father went bankrupt. He jumped from the top floor of the company building. His mother was so traumatized that she lost her mind. From then on, the young master fell from grace. At this point, as I tapped a few times on the screen, the male swordsman in the game swung his sword fiercely. The boss's health bar hit 0. Loot dropped all over the ground. I paused and looked up at the barrage of comments. Who says he's not Meng Mingyu? I've never seen anyone else with skills like that. Jiang Heoken is Meng Mingyu himself. I found the news report. 5 years ago, there really was a CEO named Jiang who was deeply in debt. He jumped off a building. I heard Jiang Heoken's company was disgusting. They helped pay off a little, then kept squeezing him dry. The contract was extremely harsh. More people were asking, what happened next? What happened after that? Was the little actor Liu Yi? I stared at that name, stunned. Then curled my lips and said, the end of the story is, the boy lost his last family member too. As I spoke, I moved the character and arrived at the return altar in the game. It's the place for letting go. The NPC kept asking in the game, are you sure you want to delete this character? This action cannot be undone. Without the slightest hesitation, I clicked confirm. The character turned into a wisp of green smoke. A line of words slowly appeared on screen. Player Meng Mingyu has left the Jianghu. This life, we shall not meet again. I set down my phone and stared at the screen. The barrage of comments was moving too fast. I couldn't read anything clearly. Next to the coffee table, antidepressants had spilled onto the floor. The bottle was completely empty. The story is over. I let out a long breath. A quiet laugh escaped from me. I know everyone has always hated me. But don't worry, everyone. Starting today, I will leave the entertainment industry. I wish you all happiness. Goodbye, film crew. Liu Yi was watching my livestream replay on her phone. My expression on screen looked like I was telling someone else's story. When she saw me defeat the boss and head toward the return altar, Liu Yi's heart began to pound violently. Her manager walked over, her expression excited as she said, I have good news for you. Jiang Heoken has completely left the industry. He even deactivated his Weibo account. His company is now going to sue him for a huge amount in damages. He'll never make a comeback. Everyone on the set is gossiping about it. Liu Yi's mind went blank for a moment. Like countless threads were tangling in her nerves, making it impossible to think straight. It felt like she had missed something important. The next second, her manager suddenly let out a scream. Liu Yi, still dazed, looked over. Her manager was holding her phone, lips trembling as she said, a video just surfaced. Jiang Heoken jumped from a building. Now everyone in the entertainment industry is rushing there like crazy. By the time Liu Yi arrived at the scene, my body had already been taken away by the ambulance. She hurried to the hospital. The hospital entrance was swarming with reporters, completely jam-packed. Everyone was trying to get the first-hand scoop. It was so chaotic that even the police arrived to maintain order. Liu Yi's hand gripped the car door handle, instinctively about to open it and get out. Her manager, Li Meng, quickly reached out and held her back. Liu Yi, are you crazy? Liu Yi shook off her hand. I have to see him. She ignored Li Meng's attempt to stop her, pushed open the door, and rushed out. Liu Yi bypassed the reporters and entered through a side door next to the hospital. At the entrance to the morgue, Liu Qian looked at Liu Yi rushing toward her. She asked, Are you here to see him? Liu Yi acted as if she didn't hear her at all. She kept walking forward, trying to pass Liu Qian and go straight into the morgue. A voice suddenly rang out in front of Liu Yi. It was Shang King. She looked serious as he said, Liu Yi, you shouldn't be here. She placed one hand on Liu Yi's shoulder stopping her from moving forward. Liu Yi could only see the corpse from afar, covered in a white cloth. A red bracelet was tied around the limp wrist. Liu Yi staggered. No, could it be Jiang Heoken? Her heart felt like it was pierced by thousands of needles. A dense and overwhelming pain. Liu Yi's eyes were unknowingly red-rimmed with tears. She slowly spoke, "I want to take him with me." Hearing that, Shen Qing glanced at her. Her face turned cold, anger in her eyes. She stepped in front of Liu Yi, grabbed her collar, and shouted, "Take him? What right do you have? Does a heartless person like you deserve it?" Shen Qing enunciated every word sharply. She then threw the folder in her hand, harshly in front of Liu Yi. She looked down at the brown envelope on the ground. Instinctively, she reached for it, picked it up, and as she opened it, papers and photos spilled out. Many of the sheets were screenshots of Weibo message threads. They were from several of my burner accounts. Every account was named after Liu Yi in some way. Starting 5 years ago, I had been following Liu Yi. Every morning and night, I would send her private messages from each account. "Remember to sleep early. Take care of yourself. Hi there, I'm your fan. You're so beautiful. I like you so much." At first, Liu Yi would occasionally reply with a few words, but later on, as she got busier, it became nothing but my own one-sided conversation. Aside from chat screenshots, there were also many Weibo posts from those accounts. Each one matched the names of the accounts. Every single post I made was about Liu Yi. I was a one-person fan club. Every drama Liu Yi acted in, I promoted and supported with dedication. I worked hard to let everyone know about Leng Yi. Even from the very beginning, when Liu Yi was just an unnoticed, small-time actress for a full 5 years, I clocked in every day under her Weibo post. Even after she joined the entertainment industry, I never stopped. All my passionate love for her was laid bare on these pages. And aside from all this evidence that shocked Liu Yi and Liu Qian, there were also several photos of me from over the years. Liu Yi picked up the one in the center. At the exact moment her gaze landed on it, her heart felt like it had been struck hard several times. Shen Qing and Liu Qian's eyes also landed on the photo. When they saw it clearly, Liu Qian gasped and stepped back in shock. She instinctively took in a sharp breath. Heoken only told me that his family was in desperate need of money, but he never said duh. Quotes Shen Qing slowly began. "I had someone look into it. Jiang Heoken's father was scammed. He lost everything in a failed investment and owed many people money. On the day you two were supposed to meet, his company's cash flow completely broke down. Jiang Heoken's father, left with no options, chose to commit suicide. His mother witnessed the entire thing and went insane on the spot." Shen Qing turned his head to glance aside. Meanwhile, I lay there quietly in the morgue. Liu Yi stared intensely at the photo in her hand. I looked a few years younger in the photo. In the distance was the corpse of a middle-aged man. The man lay face down on the ground, his head completely shattered. A dark red pool of blood stained the floor, and I was holding my mother tightly, wearing the couple's jacket that Liu Yi had bought. My face was filled with panic and helplessness. Liu Yi looked at everything before her in disbelief. She had thought I stood her up on purpose, that I was playing with her, but it wasn't. None of it was like she had thought. Shen Qing withdrew her gaze and looked at Liu Yi, half kneeling on the ground. "You always hated him, didn't you? Then you should be happy. Now in this world, that person you hated is gone." As he spoke, Shen Qing waved behind him. Several men in black suits stormed into the morgue. "Allow your approach Liu Qian to speak with her." Liu Yi suddenly realized and tried to stop them. Shen Qing reached out to block her path. "Oh right, there's one more thing I think you should know. Your breakout film, the one that made you famous, was funded by Jiang Heoken. If you don't believe me, you can check the production records for that movie." Liu Yi's entire body froze in that instant. She could no longer move, nor could she say a single word. It had been 3 days since my death, But online discussions hadn't died down at all. Rumors about me were everywhere. Liu Yi sat on the couch drinking whiskey. The memories from that time rolled through her mind like a movie on loop. In Liu Yi's heart, Meng Mingyu was a warm and gentle boy. But from the moment I entered the industry, scandals followed me. The entertainment world is full of chaos. Liu Yi had always hated people like that. She couldn't accept that her idealized white moonlight could be someone like me. So on the day of the variety show recording, when she saw me smiling and reaching out, she responded coldly and distant, her words sharp. Liu Yi drank too much and eventually fell asleep on the couch. In her dreams, she saw me lovingly falling for Liu Yi. Why did you say you didn't know me? Her heart jolted violently. She opened her eyes to complete darkness. Liu Yi picked up her phone and replayed the live stream recording of my final broadcast. Staring at me on the screen, Liu Yi felt like her heart was being gripped tightly by an invisible hand. It made her so upset she couldn't catch her breath. At this moment, the online public opinion had already changed completely. Under the replay link of my live stream, comments full of regret kept increasing. Liu Yi sat dazed at the edge of the bed. Moonlight spilled through the window, falling on her with a hint of loneliness. The floor in front of her was covered with papers and my photos. Notification sounds kept coming from her phone. It was one trending search after another on Weibo. Shen King and Liu Qian arranged for people to expose all of these things. In the past, I endured countless false accusations and insults for you. Now the truth is finally revealed to the public, when everything was laid bare in front of everyone. All the previous lies were overturned. My experiences became even more heartbreaking. It's hard for people to imagine that someone who once lived so happily went through such pain, and how I made it through. In those photos, I arranged my father's funeral alone and settled my mentally ill mother by myself. Even after going through all that, I always wore a smile, as if those hardships had never happened. As if the one with severe depression wasn't me at all. Liu Yi slowly opened her mouth and hoarsely called out, "Jiang Heoken." She looked out the window, Shen King's words echoing in her ears. "It was you who pushed Jiang Heoken step by step into the abyss. You pushed him toward death." Just then, Liu Yi's phone suddenly rang. It was a call from her agent, Li Meng. "Liu Yi, where are you now?" Liu Yi slowly answered, "At home." Li Meng paused for 2 seconds, then said urgently, "Wait there, I'll be right over." Soon, the doorbell at Liu Yi's house rang. Liu Yi carefully packed up those documents and photos and placed them in the bedside cabinet. Seeing her pale face, Liu Yi reeked of alcohol. Li Meng said in a bit of a daze, "Yi." Liu Yi walked to the sofa and sat down weakly. Her eyes were unfocused. She only said tiredly, "Cancel all the upcoming appearances for me. I want to rest for a while. I need a break." Li Meng sighed. "Even if you didn't ask, you'd still be forced to rest. Have you not seen Weibo yet?" She pulled out her phone, opened Weibo, and tossed it in front of Liu Yi. With a sigh, she said, "Those netizens have gone completely mad now. They're all cursing you. They're even calling for a collective boycott." On the phone screen were comments under the latest trending topic. Among those comments, half were defending me, while the other half were bashing Liu Yi. Liu Yi just gave the screen a casual glance and said, "Let them say what they want." Her indifferent tone infuriated Li Meng. "How can you just let them? You have 2 new films about to be released and a drama series about to air. If public opinion keeps spiraling like this..." Li Meng put away the phone and sat on the sofa opposite Liu Yi. She continued, "Now that Jiang Heoken is dead, why don't we just say..." Before Li Meng could finish, Liu Yi directly cut her off. "Enough." She raised her eyelids and looked at Li Meng. "I don't want to use him to whitewash myself." Seeing Liu Yi's serious expression, Li Meng was momentarily stunned. She asked, "Then what do you want? Do you really intend to watch your future be destroyed step by step?" Liu Yi closed her eyes briefly and said nothing. Li Meng sighed. "Take some time to calm down. I'm going back to the company. I'll discuss the PR strategy with the team." As she reached the door, Li Meng turned back Don't go anywhere these next few days. Just stay home and rest. I think Jiang Heokan definitely wouldn't want to see you ruin your future. Your future. Don't forget how far you've come to reach this point. Li Meng didn't finish the rest of her words. But Liu Yi understood. She knew that reaching where she was today was not without Jiang Heokan's help. She had devoted so much time and energy. Even money. Liu Yi once again opened Weibo. She clicked into Jiang Heokan's alternate account. It was like self-inflicted torment, as she read every post I had ever made. She looked for a long time. Liu Yi's eyes began to sting, before she finally pressed the back button, ready to close the app. Just then, a photographer she followed suddenly posted an update. Enjoy the scenery. The photographer's post contained only a few simple words. Alongside several of his photo works, Liu Yi stared at the photo in the center, and her heart skipped a beat. She gently tapped the screen, and the photo was enlarged on the display. The vast ocean shimmered with light. Beneath the trees by the shore, a boy sat in a wheelchair looking out at the sea. He wore a wide-brimmed hat. His expression calm. Beside him stood a tall, slender figure. Although the photographer had taken the shot from a distance, Liu Yi immediately recognized that it was me. I wasn't dead. At that moment, on a southern island, I wheeled myself out of the room. The Annie had just set the food on the table. Mr. Jiang is up. I made porridge for you this morning. She walked behind me while speaking, and gently pushed my wheelchair to the table. Drink it while it's hot. See if it suits your taste. Looking at the porridge and warm milk in front of me, I smiled. Thank you, Aunt Zhang. Aunt Zhang looked at me with some tenderness. Silly child. Why are you being so polite with me? This is part of my responsibility, and the young lady specifically told us to take good care of you. If you need anything, just let me know. I lowered my head and drank the porridge. After breakfast, Aunt Zhang pushed me along the beach to get some sun. The sea breeze lifted my mood a lot. I asked about her. Aunt Zhang smiled. The young lady said you were probably glad she wasn't here. Something came up back home. She left in a hurry last night. I could guess it probably had something to do with me. I nodded and said nothing more. I quietly gazed out at the endless sea. Back home, she didn't sleep all night. She couldn't sleep, she didn't dare to. After seeing that photo, she immediately contacted a private detective. She even hired a professional search team to help her find me as quickly as possible. Once the detective was arranged, Liu Yi suited up and went out. In that photo, the figure next to me looked very much like Shen King. Liu Yi drove straight to Shen King's house. Shen King, in loungewear, casually opened the door. When she saw Liu Yi, she smirked and said, "It's not even daylight yet. What are you so crazy about?" Liu Yi, eyes red, asked hysterically. "Did you hide him, didn't you?" Shen King looked at her. His lips curled into a smile. "I have no idea what you're talking about." As she spoke, Shen King began to close the door. Liu Yi suddenly reached out and blocked the door just before it shut. "Tell me where Jiang Heokan is." Shen King looked at Liu Yi, clearly out of control, and chuckled. "Is this really our top actress Liu Yi? If you really want to know, I'll tell you. He's already been buried. Buried with his mother. If you miss him, go find him underground." Liu Yi's face turned even paler. She looked at Shen King in disbelief. Shen King sneered at her. "Liu Yi, when he was alive you were so cold to him. And now that he's dead you're coming here acting crazy." She gave a cold laugh, pushed Liu Yi's hand away, and slammed the door shut. Staring at the closed door, Liu Yi suddenly came back to her senses. Only then did she realize what she had just done. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was the private investigator. The answer, Liu Yi picked up instantly. "Do you have any news?" A man's voice on the other end said, "Miss Liu, sorry. There's no update yet. But we've confirmed that the location is a small island in South America. We're preparing to send someone there now to confirm whether the person you're looking for is there. We wanted to inform you first, but there may be some additional cost involved." Liu Yi turned around and got in the car. cutting off the voice on the phone mid-sentence. She said quickly, "Just go. No matter the cost. I only have one request. You must find the person in the photo." Liu Yi was extremely anxious. She wished she could fly to that island immediately. But just as she left the neighborhood where Shang King lived, before she could even get in her car, she was surrounded by a crowd of reporters. "Hello, Liu Yi. What do you have to say about Jiang Heoken jumping to his death? Do you have anything to say? Jiang Heoken did so much for you before. Did you really not know anything? Miss Liu, were you aware from the beginning that Jiang Heoken came from a wealthy family and approached him with an agenda to play games and date him? Can you talk about how you felt when you heard the news of Jiang Heoken's death? Please respond, Miss Liu. Why are you here at this time? Is there something urgent you came to deal with?" According to our sources, Professor Song Jingnian also lives in this neighborhood. Countless microphones were pushed toward Liu Yi. Reporters fired questions one after another, none backing down. She pressed her red lips tightly together, not saying a word. These questions were like knives, repeatedly stabbing into Liu Yi's heart. She just stood there, neither refuting nor responding. At that moment, a group of people pushed through the crowd around Liu Yi, clearing a space around her. Song Jingnian rushed over. As soon as he saw the news, he contacted his security team. Now, in front of all the media, he ran to Liu Yi's side and linked arms with her. "Sorry, friends from the media. I was the one who invited her to my home. As for the details, I'm afraid it's not convenient to disclose them at this moment." Liu Yi immediately denied it. "That's not true." The moment Song Jingnian appeared, the reporters gradually quieted down. As she spoke, Liu Yi tried to pull her hand back, but Song Jingnian held on especially tightly. Still smiling on the surface, with a smile he said, "As for Heoken, both Yi and I are deeply saddened, but the dead are gone, and we hope everyone can respect those of us who are still living." Song Jingnian's voice was gentle, but carried an indescribable authority. The reporters looked at each other in silence. None said a word. Meanwhile, Liu Yi's agent Li Meng had also arrived with a team. Li Meng pulled Liu Yi toward the nanny van. Before getting in, Liu Yi gave Song Jingnian a meaningful look. "Mr. Song, I hope you won't say such ambiguous things in front of reporters. There is nothing between us." Song Jingnian's face visibly turned pale. He watched as Liu Yi's car slowly disappeared from view. The hand resting at his side curled into a tight fist. After Li Meng brought Liu Yi home, she sighed at her condition. "I told you not to go anywhere, didn't I? Don't you realize those reporters?" Liu Yi lowered her head. "I'm a little tired. You should go." 2 hours later, the door to Liu Yi's house opened. A handsome man walked in with a suitcase. He looked at Liu Yi, sitting blankly on the sofa. Frowning, he said. Liu Yan slowly walked over to Liu Yi. "I just went abroad on a business trip. How did you end up like this?" Seeing Liu Yi remain silent, Liu Yan picked up his phone and opened Weibo. He had been overseas during this period, attending a closed forum, and hadn't had time to catch up on domestic news, let alone follow entertainment gossip. He clicked on some of the trending topics still heavily discussed. As Liu Yan read, his thick brows furrowed deeper. It only took him 3 minutes to understand the entire situation. Liu Yan looked at Liu Yi, remembering the day she stood at the doorway, drenched from head to toe. His sister's face had been full of sorrow back then. Liu Yan gently patted Liu Yi on the shoulder. "It's all in the past now." She was usually decisive and capable, but she really wasn't good at comforting people. Liu Yi kept staring at her phone screen until a text message popped up. She nervously said, "I won't be staying here for the time being." Liu Yan watched her hurriedly leave and sighed. "Liu Yi bought the apartment I used to rent." She stood in front of the door, staring at the paint stains that hadn't been cleaned yet. Her heart trembled slightly. She took a deep breath before entering the passcode. then walked inside. The apartment was clean and tidy, with a simple layout. In the air, there seemed to linger the faint scent of osmanthus I used to wear. Fragrance. Liu Yi's gaze landed on a small corner of the room. Her chest felt like it had been hit by a bullet. A pain deep to the bone. That small corner was filled with posters and photos of him. Liu Yi couldn't help but walk toward the cabinet. She opened it slowly. On the top shelf was a row of photo albums. Liu Yi trembled as she took out the first album. It was full of screenshots from the games we used to play together. Screenshots from those games. I laminated them as if they were photographs, preserved like pictures. The second album was from her first year after debuting. It had photos of some of the small roles she played. I made cartoon versions of every character she portrayed. The third album was full of photos of Liu Yi. Some were daily life photos posted on Weibo. Others were official event photos she attended. Officially released images. The second shelf in the cabinet was filled with magazines. Every single one was a magazine, all with Liu Yi on the cover. The third shelf had two large boxes. One of the boxes was filled with merchandise related to her. Posters and all kinds of products she endorsed. I bought every single one, without missing anything. The other small box contained a thick stack of ticket stubs and a diary. Those were movie tickets from all the films Liu Yi had acted in since she debuted over the years. Every movie that Liu Yi participated in. No matter how big or small the role, I watched them all, without her ever knowing. Finally, Liu Yi gently picked up the tickets and the diary beside them. She hadn't opened it yet, when suddenly the phone rang. "Miss Liu, we found the person you were looking for. I've emailed you the address." After receiving the address information, Liu Yi rushed to the airport as fast as she could. Aside from her personal belongings, she only brought my diary. Until the plane took off, Liu Yi cautiously opened the diary. The diary was thick. I had written down so many things, but each entry was just a few brief sentences. "I didn't show up to our meeting. I wonder if she resents me for it. Maybe we'll never see each other again in this lifetime." 2 years have passed. Everything seems to be back on track. She's become more dazzling. She achieved her dream. That's great. I've entered the entertainment industry too. I wanted to repay my family's debt early, and I also wanted to be a little closer to her. Maybe she'd never realize I'm Meng Mingyu. But that's okay. Just seeing her is enough. My mom's condition has improved a lot. Liu Yi also won the Best Actress award. Some of the debts were paid off. We were getting better and better. Liu Yi's heart suddenly felt healed. Today, I finally saw her again. She had long known I was Meng Mingyu, but the disgust in her eyes was so clear. Maybe it was because I didn't show up back then. Maybe it was something else. They all hate me. I don't care. Life now is so much better than before. But too many creditors have shown up, and I have no money left to give. What else can I do? Reading every word on that page, Liu Yi was already in tears. Meanwhile, the plane slowly descended at Lingshui Pavilion. I sat by the window. Across from me was a delicately beautiful woman. With graceful movements, she served me tea. "Mr. Jiang seems to be doing quite well lately." I looked at the flowing water outside the window and smiled faintly. The woman also smiled softly. She said gently, "If you're willing, you could try doing more things you enjoy, like playing games, for example." Just as she finished speaking, the door to the private room was pushed open. Without a word, someone started pushing my wheelchair out. "Come with me." As she looked at Shen King and me from behind, Lian Sisi picked up her tea and took a sip, then lowered her head and smiled. Shen King wheeled me out of the tea house. I looked at Shen King in confusion and asked, "What's going on? Did something happen?" Shen King suddenly snapped out of it. She stopped walking. I saw that she wasn't saying anything, so I called out, "Shen King." Shen King's mind spun quickly, and she turned me around and pushed me back. Shen King pushed me back into the tea house. This time, she finally called Yuan Sisi cousin. Yuan Sisi picked up her bag and stood up. "You two enjoy your tea. I'll be going first. I'll come again in a few days." Shen King looked at my cousin. "How's his condition?" Yuan Sisi smiled gently. "It's stabilized. Don't worry." Hearing that, Shen King waved her hand. "All right then, you may go." She pushed me to the table. Staring out the window, she casually said, He came to see you. It was clear who she meant. My hand trembled slightly as I held the teacup. Hot tea spilled out instantly. Shen King frowned. She quickly grabbed my hand and held it under the nearby faucet. Angrily, she said, "Why are you so clumsy? You even burn yourself drinking tea." I stared blankly at my red, scalded fingertips. Elsewhere, after landing, Liu Yi went straight to the address in the email. She looked at the door in front of her, took a few deep breaths nervously, then raised her hand and gently knocked on the door. A handsome blonde man opened the door and saw Liu Yi. His eyes lit up. He winked at Liu Yi flirtatiously. With a perfect British accent, he said, "May I ask who you're looking for?" Liu Yi glanced past him. The room behind her was empty. There was nothing to see. Liu Yi's eyes scanned the room. The blonde man cheerfully invited her in. Liu Yi shook her head, and as she turned, she dialed the number. The person on the other end apologized repeatedly. "I'm so sorry, Miss Liu. Our staff made a mistake. Please rest assured, we will continue to help you search." Liu Yi walked aimlessly along the seashore, feeling lost. Looking at the vast ocean, she thought of what I had written in the diary. We've all gotten better. Had they really gotten better? Liu Yi stood there quietly for a while before leaving. Under a nearby tree, Shen King slowly pushed my wheelchair out from behind the tree. Shen King asked, "Don't you want to see her?" I shook my head and said, "It's all in the past. There's no need for a reunion." Shen King chuckled lightly and pushed me as we headed home. She joked, "Jiang Heoken, how about considering me? Think about it. I'm good looking and rich too." The sun slowly began to set. The setting sun dyed the sea red. It looked like a magnificent oil painting. Listening to Shen King's words, I couldn't help but smile. I always thought Shen King was just a rich girl out of touch with reality, spoiled and sheltered, but the day I leapt into despair, she saved me. She asked me, "Jiang Heoken, do you want to run away?" After that, Shen King had someone bring me to this place. During the first few days on the island, my depression was still severe. Thoughts of suicide were frequent. The next day, I jumped from the second-floor balcony. I hurt my leg. Shen King crouched in front of me. She said, "Jiang Heoken, you've already died once." Back home, Liu Yi returned to my old apartment. She drank glass after glass of alcohol and had dream after dream. When she woke from the dream, Liu Yi just felt like her heart had a massive hole gouged out of it, cold and painful inside, but she was completely helpless. The next day, when she sobered up, her head hurt like it was going to explode. But the headache wasn't the worst part. It was the pain in her heart. She had never felt so much regret. Regretful and powerless, Liu Yi lay on the sofa, staring at the ceiling. Could it be Jiang Heoken? She slowly closed her eyes. A single tear rolled down from the corner of Liu Yi's eye. Li Meng's call came without warning. "Liu Yi, don't say anything right now. Listen to me. Reporters are already camped out downstairs at Jiang Heoken's place. You have to follow my instructions now. Turn left when you go out," Liu Yi said firmly. "I'm not leaving," Li Meng shouted anxiously. "Wake up? Beep beep beep, another day begins. Jiang Heoken, keep going." The clock slowly moved toward 8 o'clock. A cartoon mascot nearby made that announcement. Liu Yi turned her head and saw a cartoon mascot that looked about 80% like her. It was waving its arms. Though her body was numb, her heart felt bitter. She slowly stood up and followed Li Meng's instructions to slip away. Li Meng was right. She needed to stay clear-headed. Jiang Heoken was still alive. She would find him. Inside the office of Shinhui Entertainment, Song Jingnian approached Li Meng, saying he wanted to be paired as a CP with Liu Yi. He asked for PR announcements, just to create a CP narrative between Song Jingnian and Liu Yi. Meanwhile, all the things I had done were labeled as one-sided affection, and Liu Yi was completely unaware. Song Jingnian sat on the sofa, watching the screen fill with marketing articles. A smug look flashed in his eyes. Liu Yi spotted late at night at Song Jingnian's residence. Two are allegedly in a passionate relationship. Liu Yi's studio responded publicly, claiming Jiang Heoken's love was one-sided. These headlines instantly exploded in public opinion. Liu Yi gripped her phone tightly. stormed into the office angrily, and yelled, "Who told you to do this?" Since entering the industry, this was the first time Liu Yi had lost her temper publicly. She completely exploded. She rushed to Li Meng and questioned, "Li Meng, you've been my agent for 5 years. What are you doing now?" Li Meng tightly grabbed Liu Yi's shoulders, staring intently into Liu Yi's eyes. "I'm doing this for your own good." Song Jingnian also stood up. "Don't be angry. We work at the same company. If you don't want to wait for the storm to pass, I'll just issue another clarification statement." Liu Yi turned her head to look at Song Jingmin. She curled her lips coldly, her eyes mocked, and Song Jingnian unconsciously stepped back. "Yi, don't look at me like that." Liu Yi gave a faint smile. She said, "Cut the act. We all work in the same circle. You think I don't know what you're thinking? Teacher Song, you seem to have forgotten. You're already juggling 3 relationships. Do you want to add another one?" The color drained from Song Jingnian's face. He opened his mouth, but couldn't say a word. In 3 years since his debut, he rose to fame by using his body, and always thought no one knew. Li Meng, who's been in the entertainment industry for over 10 years, immediately understood what Liu Yi meant by her words. But the announcement had already been made public. Even if they wanted to change it, it was too late. She tried to persuade Liu Yi helplessly. "Now, both the announcement and the statement have been made," Liu Yi said firmly. "Then issue another one." Li Meng sighed. "Do you really have to do this?" Liu Yi stared at him for a long while. Right in front of Li Meng, she picked up her phone, started typing a Weibo post. "Hello everyone. I'm Liu Yi. Starting today, I will be withdrawing indefinitely." Seeing the words on the screen clearly, Li Meng's pupils contracted sharply. She immediately reached out to snatch Liu Yi's phone. But Liu Yi had already hit the send button. The day after Liu Yi announced her withdrawal, she vanished. No one knew where she had gone. She left only a note for Liu Yun, saying she went to find him. 2 years later, I walked out of the airport wearing sunglasses. Shen King looked at me. The smile in her eyes was almost overflowing. She teased, "Oh, isn't this Coach Jiang? Finally willing to come back to the country." I smiled and walked up to Shen King, walking side by side with her. Now, I had fully recovered, both physically and mentally. During the 2 years abroad, I spent 6 months training in a top international esports bootcamp and graduated with the highest scores. Then I became a full-time coach at a top gaming company. My job was to train the team and achieve great results in various competitions. In just 2 short years, the team I led won almost all the international gaming championships, and the name Xiaoqian became widely recognized. Shen King looked at me and asked, "How long will you be back this time?" I twirled my phone and said, "I'm not leaving. I plan to build a team here in China. This year we'll compete in the national gaming tournament." Shen King paused in her tracks, stunned. A few seconds later, she hurried to catch up. I asked, "Jiang Heogan, do I have a chance now?" 2 years. Not too long, but not short either. Many people and things have changed. I soon moved into a seaside villa. This house used to be my home. It held the most beautiful memories of my life. I had long been preparing for my return and career, and even bought this place before I came back. I had it renovated. At the moment, I sat by the window, gazing at the ocean outside in a daze. A message came through on my phone from a team member. "Coach, you've scheduled the stream for 7 p.m. Our first live broadcast is only an hour away." I walked into the adjacent streaming studio, sat down at the desk. After adjusting all the equipment, I quietly waited for the clock to strike 7. Exactly at 7 p.m., I took a deep breath. I pressed the Start Live button. This live stream was my first attempt at building the team's reputation. There couldn't be any mistakes. Fortunately, it was a faceless stream, so I wasn't too nervous. I slowly opened the game on screen and said, "Hello. Hi everyone, this is Coach Xiaoqian. Today's livestream game is the newly released, very popular game called Fog of Zikang*. Liu Yi sat in the car, watching the live stream on her phone, listening to the voice coming from it. Her heart pounded like a drum. Her hand holding the phone trembled slightly without her realizing it. Liu Yi slowly pulled the car over and walked toward the seaside villa. This villa had a unique design. She had been there many times, but always watched from a distance. And it was always pitch black inside. But now it was different. The lights were on inside. 6 months ago, someone bought this villa from her. At that time, Liu Yi had thought maybe he had come back. Now Liu Yi carefully approached step by step, finally stopping in front of a window. From inside came an excited male voice. To the left. A bit more to the left, perfect. That's it for today's live stream. Follow me on Weibo and our team's account too. Thanks for the support. Bye bye. As the voice echoed from inside, the live stream feed on the phone ended too. I took off my headphones and drank a sip of water when I suddenly heard a familiar voice from outside. Hey Oken, is that you? Hearing that voice, my heart involuntarily skipped a beat. I immediately stood up and turned off the lights. At the moment the lights went dark, I heard Liu Yi sigh. Her voice carried a trace of helplessness. Hey Oken, I know it's you. Liu Yi stared intensely at the window in front of her. Her voice was choked. Can we meet just once? I leaned against the wall, listening to Liu Yi's voice. My heartbeat unconsciously sped up. I took several deep breaths to calm myself. Only then did I slowly settle down. 2 years had passed. I thought I had long forgotten. I thought when I saw Liu Yi again, I could face her calmly. But now I have to admit, when Liu Yi's voice sounded again, my heart still wavered. Liu Yi stood outside, talking in fragments about many things. About the past, and about now. Finally, she said, just knowing you're still alive is enough. Hey Oken, it's okay if you don't want to see me. Her voice was slightly hoarse. I turned my head and looked outside through the window. I remembered long ago. She looked at me coldly and said, I never want to see you again. The curtains tightly blocked everything outside. But somehow, it felt like I could still see through them. Liu Yi's bitter smile. People are always like this, so indecisive. When they have something, they think it means little. Only after losing it do they do everything to get it back. Try to retrieve it. I heard the sound of soft footsteps outside. I walked to the window and opened the curtain a little. Liu Yi had turned to face the sea, as if lost in thought. I couldn't help but follow her gaze. There was nothing there, only the endless ocean horizon. In the end, I still couldn't resist and stepped outside, following Liu Yi's footsteps. As she reached the car and was about to open the door, she seemed to sense a burning gaze behind her. Liu Yi paused before opening the door, stiffly turned around and saw me. She slowly opened her mouth, but no words came out. We looked at each other for a long time. Only then did Liu Yi slowly say, Hey Oken. I smiled and said, Liu Yi, long time no see. Liu Yi stepped forward and looked at me. I waved at her. I know about Liu Yi's withdrawal. I also know she's been looking for me for the past 2 years. Shen King told me a lot of things. I said calmly, Liu Yi. Those things are all in the past. Life is long. Those events were just a part of our experience. I've already let them go. Liu Yi's expression. I continued speaking to Jiang. I know you've been looking for me these past 2 years. But really, there's no need. No need to feel sorry. No need to feel indebted. Like they said. Back then, no one forced me to do those things. It was my own choice. So no matter the outcome, I accept it. The sea breeze was strong. Suddenly, a warm hand held my slightly cold fingertips. I quickly turned my head to look. Shen King held my hand tightly. Liu Yi. Jiang Heoken is already dead. I told you that 2 years ago. When we parted, I said to Liu Yi, I've already started a new life. Do you still remember your dream? If you do, then start over again. Liu Yi gave a bitter smile. That path is full of thorns. In the past, she could persist, because I encouraged her every single day. These past 2 years, Liu Yi has been living in my old apartment. Everything inside was kept just as it was. Moonlight streamed in through the large floor-to-ceiling windows, but Liu Yi's figure felt lonely. She took out her phone and dialed the number. For the new game's promotion collaboration, the stream are doing a live today. Get the marketing team to contact them. No matter the cost, we must make a deal. Meanwhile, I was sitting on the sofa. Shen King was sitting nearby. Not far away, Zi Nu glared at me angrily, frowning. Jiang Heoken, look at how useless you are. I couldn't help but laugh at his expression. I didn't mean anything by it. I just wanted to clear things up with her. Shen King snorted coldly. You better be. But at that moment, Shen King's phone suddenly rang. She glanced at the screen, frowning slightly. Shen King gestured to me to be quiet. She put it on speaker and asked, "What is it?" Liu Qian's voice came through the phone. "King. Is Jiang Heoken still alive?" My hand paused as I was peeling an orange. I exchanged a glance with Shen King. The voice on the phone continued, "You don't have to hide it anymore. Today, a paparazzi sent me photos and videos. Liu Yi was in them too." Shen King got up and walked over to me. She held my hand tightly, then asked into the phone, "So what?" Liu Qian continued, "Let Heoken meet with me. I have something to say to him in person. Besides, his contract with the company doesn't expire for another 2 months." The next morning, I was playing games in the back seat of the car. Shen King sat beside me, nagging nonstop. "Jiang Heoken, how can you be so carefree now? Aren't you afraid that the news of you being alive will cause a huge uproar?" I chuckled and said, "If after being dead for 2 years, I'm still this relevant, there's nothing I can do about it." Seeing Shen King's frustrated expression, the smile on my lips grew even wider. A seemingly insignificant topic slowly climbed the trending list. Song Jingnian trained hard for 2 years and became a popular game streamer. That summer, Liu Qian's eyes turned red the moment she saw me. Seeing her made me feel emotional too. Liu Qian looked at me, nodded, and said, "Come with me." I followed Liu Qian into the meeting room. The previous president Zhang had already been removed for breaking the law. Now the company had a new boss. Liu Qian introduced him to me, saying Heoken is the new boss, President Wang, and she expressed interest in renewing my contract, wanting me to continue acting. I politely declined and left the company with Shen King. But we were immediately surrounded by reporters downstairs. They shoved microphones in my face and asked, "Jiang Heoken, did you really jump off the building back then? Why did you fake your death when you were clearly alive? Did you deliberately stage your fake death? Was it intentional? Did you plan the fake death to manipulate public opinion? Jiang Heoken, where have you been these past 2 years? Do you know what happened to Liu Yi? Has Liu Yi been with you these past 2 years? Can you please say something? Jiang Heoken, why is Shen King with you? What is your relationship with Shen King? Jiang Heoken, please respond." They bombarded me with questions one after another. That familiar sense of suffocation surged toward me. Fortunately, Shen King was prepared. The bodyguards immediately blocked the reporters. The two of us made our way to the car. I kept telling myself it's okay. Taking deep breaths, I got in the car. As soon as I sat down, Shen King turned to me and said coldly, "We are no longer people of the entertainment industry. If you keep pushing us like this." She swept her gaze across the media. Her eyes were icy. Only when the noise gradually faded did she relax. After getting in the car, Shen King's face remained stern. I looked at her and comforted, "All right, don't be angry." But I couldn't help recalling the first time we met. Back then, Shen King had a sharp tongue. The way she looked at me was always with contempt. But over the past 2 years, Shen King has completely changed. She always found her own ways to protect me. And she did it well. "Jiang Heoken," Shen King suddenly called my name. "Tell me the truth. Do you still want to stay in showbiz?" It sounded like a question, but it carried the tone of a threat. Jiang Heoken looked at Shen King and said seriously, "I don't." "Shen King, I know exactly what I want. I knew it before, and I still know it now." Shen King's expression softened a lot. She dropped me off at my studio. Inside the studio, a few young boys were wearing headphones. They sat in front of the computers, training seriously. Occasionally, they communicated with their teammates to solve issues. When Shen King and I walked in, the battle in the game was at its most intense stage. So they didn't even notice the boss had arrived. I didn't bother them either. I just strolled around the studio on my own. Shen King followed behind me. Wherever I went, she followed. After the two of us had walked around the entire studio, the team members had also just finished training. After reporting on their recent training progress, they all gave meaningful glances toward Shang King behind me. At that moment, one of the boys said to me, "Oh right, coach. There's a male celebrity online pretending to be you, Shang King," and I turned to look at the team member who spoke. I squinted and asked, "What did you say?" "Pretending to be me." I didn't quite understand what she meant at first, until the team member handed me her phone. When I saw the trending headline, I laughed out of disbelief. I didn't expect that after 2 years, Song Jinglian would still be this committed to his own script, and that he would do something so ridiculous. 2 years ago, when the CP hype announcement was posted, it didn't divert attention. It actually angered even more netizens. They all criticized Liu Yi for being irresponsible and cursed Song Jinglian for profiting off Jiang Heoken's tragedy. Song Jinglian's reputation plummeted. These past 2 years, his opportunities have dwindled, so he had to resort to self-promotion from time to time. But what I didn't expect was, he would actually impersonate me. I clicked to check the comments section. Sure enough, they were just what I expected. Song Jinglian is a joke. He really thinks Xiaoqian is just a game streamer. Haha, this is the funniest thing this year. Who even is this guy? Never even heard of his name. I'm seriously laughing myself silly. Does Xiaoqian even realize he's just a game streamer? That guy competed overseas and won a Grand Slam in gaming tournaments. As a coach, his annual salary reached 8 figures. I'm speechless. Someone please blacklist this lunatic. Some of the comments had just started popping up. Did you see the trending topic? Jiang Heoken isn't dead. He's alive, damn. For real? Didn't they even confirm the body back then? It was a public statement from Jiang Heoken's company. I'm not lying to you. Just go check for yourself. He showed up with Shang King hits 100% real. But I didn't bother checking the trending topics about me. Shang King and I were no longer part of the industry. There was no need to look, and even less need to respond. I handed the phone back to the team member. I looked at Shang King and said, "I just got a collaboration invitation from West City Mist. I need to make a visit to their company," I said lazily. Shang King collapsed on the nearby couch. "Then I won't follow you this time. Be careful on your own." She had gotten up so early in the morning. Now she was so tired she could barely keep her eyes open. I followed the address in the message and arrived at West City Mist Company. Someone quickly came to receive me. I didn't miss it. The receptionist showed a flicker of surprise when she saw me. I sat in the conference room. Through the glass window, I looked outside from the meeting room. I had been following West City Mist game for quite a while. Ever since the day the game entered beta testing, I had been playing it. This game shares some similarities with Sunset Rivers and Lakes. Yet it also has many small features and fine details. It's much more refined than Sunset Rivers and Lakes. Watching the busy people outside, I couldn't help but think, a new game company being able to reach this level in such a short time, their strength was certainly impressive. Suddenly, I heard footsteps outside. I thought to myself, it's about to begin. The door to the meeting room was gently knocked twice. Then a woman in a suit walked in. She was the marketing director of Misty West City. She said she wanted to invite me to cooperate with their company to promote the game Misty West City and to hire me as their professional consultant. I stayed silent for a moment and said I needed to think about it. At that moment, Yu Yi was sitting in the next room, watching the scene in the meeting room. After leaving the game company, I returned to the villa and collapsed directly onto the sofa. I didn't know why, but I always felt something strange about Misty West City's launch. The timing of the game's release was odd. From the time Misty West City started beta testing, many people urged for the game to be officially released. But the boss kept saying there were still bugs to fix and adjustments to make. It was constantly being optimized. But suddenly it was launched 3 days before I returned home. I thought about it for a while. In the end, I couldn't help but laugh. It's just a game release date. Why take it so seriously? The next morning, I went to the studio as usual. But halfway there, a black business van suddenly rushed towards me. There was no time to dodge. The two vehicles lightly grazed each other. Fortunately, the impact wasn't strong. No one inside was injured. I quickly calmed down. I took out my phone and called the insurance company and the police. In less than 20 minutes, my car was towed to the 4S dealership. While I was sitting in the lounge drinking coffee, Song Jingnian suddenly walked in. When he saw me, his expression immediately turned ferocious. Song Jingnian strode forward and swung a punch at my face. Jiang Heoken, it's really you. Weren't you dead? How are you alive again? He shouted hoarsely. I stood up and wiped the corner of my mouth. Chuckling lightly, I said, "What? You didn't get famous from faking a relationship, and now you're trying to ride the hype again and getting scolded. And you blame it all on me, blaming me for not getting any benefits from it." My words hit his sore spot. Song Jingnian shouted and tried to punch me again. This time I was prepared. I firmly grabbed Song Jingnian's hand. At the same time, I picked up the coffee that the waiter had just brought over and poured it directly over Song Jingnian's head, coldly saying, "Have some coffee." "You're welcome." After that, I grabbed my coat and headed out. But after just 2 steps, I bumped into Liu Yi. Meeting Liu Yi's gaze, I felt a bit flustered. Liu Yi looked at me worriedly. "I heard you were in a car accident. I happened to be nearby, so I came to check on you." I took a step back to keep some distance and said coldly, "Liu Yi, I said before that everything from the past is over." Liu Yi pulled a faint, lonely smile. "I know, so let's not talk about the past." Hearing Liu Yi's voice, Song Jingnian also walked over. He said affectionately, "Liu Yi, have you been doing well these past 2 years?" Liu Yi didn't even glance at Song Jingnian. Her passionate gaze fell entirely on me. Just then, a cold male voice sounded from behind Liu Yi. "First, come check out this car." I gave Liu Yi a faint glance and tried to walk around her to leave, but Liu Yi suddenly raised his hand and grabbed my wrist. At that moment, a man suddenly appeared in front of me. I looked up and saw a stunningly familiar face. Memories rushed back to that day, when I stood in front of Liu Yi's house. It was this man who smiled and invited me in. I looked at Liu Yun, feeling a wave of familiar youthful innocence. Off to the side, Song Jingnian saw Liu Yun too, and misunderstood Liu Yi's relationship with Liu Yun, so he left angrily. I also wanted to leave, but Liu Yi grabbed me. Liu Yun Yang said, "Aren't you going to introduce us?" Only then did Liu Yi slowly release her grip. "Heoken, this is my brother, Liu Yun." I looked at Liu Yun in surprise, then at Liu Yi. Only then did I realize the resemblance in their features. I had just never noticed it before. Liu Yun reached out his hand to me. "Hello. I'm Liu Yun. Can I call you Heoken? I've heard about you before." Out of courtesy, I shook Liu Yun's hand. "Sure, nice to meet you, Mr. Liu." Liu Yun's smile became even more obvious. He turned to Liu Yi and said, "I'll leave you two to chat. I'll go check on the car. Take your time." Just after Liu Yun left, a voice came from outside the door. "Jiang Heoken." Shen King walked in and grabbed my shoulders, checking me up and down thoroughly. I softly said, "I'm fine. Just a few scratches." Liu Yi stood nearby, watching the natural way Shen King and I interacted, her hands at her sides involuntarily clenching. Shen King curled her lips and said, "All right, if you're fine, come back with me. My dad's been nagging about you for days. The old man's been waiting for you to play games with him." Shen King grabbed my hand and started pulling me out. It was only then that she noticed Liu Yi nearby. She looked like a lion suddenly bristling. "Liu Yi, what are you doing here?" Liu Yi looked at me calmly and said, "Does it have anything to do with you?" Shen King's face darkened. "Liu Yi, I'll say it again. You'd better stay away from Heoken." After saying that, she pulled me away in large strides. We returned to the old Zhuang family estate. Shen King's father immediately came out of his study smiling. "Heoken, you're finally back. I haven't played games for so long. Without you around, it just isn't the same." Shen King snorted coldly. "Play games?" Without another word, she dragged me upstairs, straight to her room. As soon as she entered the room, she pushed me onto the bed. She looked at me seriously, but remained silent for a long time, until I couldn't help but remind her. She lifted her head and looked at me seriously. Finally, she calmly pulled me up and said, "It's nothing. Let's go down and have lunch." After lunch, I played a few rounds of games with Grandpa Zhuang until I received an email. I smiled and excitedly called out, "Shen King." Shen King was sitting not far away holding a tablet, busy with something unknown. Hearing my voice, she immediately put down the tablet and looked at me, asking, "What's wrong?" I stood up excitedly. My voice was full of joy. "I got the entry qualification. Our team passed. We can participate in this year's gaming tournament." Shen King and Grandpa Zhuang were both infected by my excitement. Returning to the studio, after holding a meeting with my teammates, I suddenly remembered the cooperation with Misty West City. I picked up my phone and dialed the number. "Hello. Is this Misty West City Game Company?" "This is Jiang Heoken." There was no response from the other end. I paused for a moment. "It's like this. Recently, I need to prepare for an important competition, so I might not be able to cooperate with your company. Thank you again for your recognition and trust." Before I finished speaking, the call was abruptly hung up with a beeping sound. I stared at my phone, a bit confused. At that moment, a text message popped up. "Sorry, Mr. Jiang. I had an emergency. It wasn't convenient for me to answer the call. If you're willing, tomorrow I can come to your studio to meet you in person. Would that be okay?" So I replied with the address and time. The next morning, I arrived early at the studio. There was a light knock on the door. I immediately got up to greet them. But to my surprise, the person who came was Liu Yi. Liu Yi looked at me and said, "Heoken, I'm not here to bother you. I'm here to discuss a collaboration with you." It took me a moment to understand what Liu Yi meant. Misty West City was her company. Only then did I finally realize what I had been overlooking all along. When we played Sunset Rivers and Lakes together, I once criticized some of its design flaws. All those flaws were perfected in Misty West City. Liu Yi sat down beside me, but I immediately stood up. "Then you should know. I'm even less likely to work with you." Liu Yi paused and looked up at me. "Why not do something that benefits us both? Our game just launched. We need promotion and user growth. And your team needs funds for the national gaming competition. Isn't that right?" Liu Yi wasn't wrong. It cost a lot to participate in gaming tournaments. Even after passing the qualification stage, more expenses awaited, while I had saved up some money abroad for a professional esports team. It was still a drop in the ocean. After a moment of silence, Liu Yi continued, "You did a lot for me before. Consider this me repaying you." Her words struck my heart, like being hit hard by something unseen. I stared blankly at Liu Yi for 2 seconds. "Liu Yi, I never wanted you to repay me. Never." Liu Yi gave a helpless smile. "I know, but I want to repay you." "Is that okay?" I stood there in silence. After a long time, I finally spoke. "Liu Yi, it's been 2 years. There's a line from a poem. The sunset is infinitely beautiful, yet close to dusk. Maybe you realize that I once truly loved you, that I did a lot of things in vain, and you felt touched or guilty." I paused. "But Liu Yi, for me, the moment I jumped off that rooftop, everything ended completely." As I spoke, I looked into Liu Yi's eyes, my expression calm and composed. "Let's move on, Liu Yi. I don't need you to repay me, nor do I need your help. I'm doing just fine now. You can go. I won't see you off." After saying that, I turned and walked toward my office. Liu Yi stood up, watching my back. She struggled to say, "Even just collaboration is not possible. If you don't want to see me, I can have someone else handle the project." My hand rested on the doorknob. "I'm not collaborating with your company. President Liu, please leave." Liu Yi looked at me and gently closed the office door. Her brows slightly furrowed. For the past 2 years, she had chosen to withdraw and move to that small island. During the first 6 months, while searching for me, she also studied software and game development. After I left, she started frantically recalling the days we played games together. Every word I had said kept resurfacing in her mind. Liu Yi thought, She had to create a game that would make me proud. I once worked hard for her dream. Now she should work hard for my passion. Liu Yi packed her schedule full, giving herself no breathing room, or rather, she didn't dare to stop. She didn't dare to let herself rest. Because every time she stopped, she would inevitably start thinking of me, and the pain in her chest would become unbearable. After leaving my studio, Liu Yi returned home, just as Liu Yan was stepping out of the study. He was holding a thick stack of documents. Seeing Liu Yi, he said, "You're back." Perfect timing, I was just about to prepare dinner. Liu Yi looked at her brother and asked, "Brother, have you ever been in love?" Liu Yan was stunned for a moment, then quickly came back to his senses. He smiled and said, "Your brother is almost 30. How could I have not been in love?" Liu Yi nodded slightly, not asking further. Instead, Liu Yan looked at him with great interest. Thinking about chasing someone? Don't know how to do it. Liu Yi took a sip of soda. Silent, without saying a word, Liu Yan put down the research materials in his hand. He looked at Liu Yi and said meaningfully, "When facing the people and things you care about, you tend to fall into traps. My advice is to just be yourself. Don't let your emotions take over. Now let's eat." At night, Liu Yi lay on the bed, Liu Yan's words echoing in her mind. After a long while, she suddenly remembered my words by the sea that day. "Liu Yi, do you still remember your dream? Start over." Liu Yi stared blankly out the window for a long time, until the first light appeared on the horizon. The next morning, Liu Yi dialed a number she hadn't contacted in a long time. Since that day we parted at my studio, Liu Yi had not appeared before me for a long time. Long enough that when I thought about that day, it felt like it was just my imagination. But I kept receiving things sent by Liu Yi, delivered by others. Sometimes it was snacks, sometimes postcards from around the world, and sometimes handwritten letters from Liu Yi. It was as if time had really turned back, but our roles had switched. I had no time to engage with her. No matter what Liu Yi sent, I ignored it all. Those letters and postcards were collected by my assistant into a small box. As for the food, they all ended up in the stomachs of my team members. Sometimes the players would even joke to the coach, "Sister Shen is so nice, always sending you food and gifts. You should just agree to be with her." Every time they said that, I would think of Shen King, the sharp-tongued but soft-hearted woman. Shen King had also been gone for a long time. I couldn't even reach her by phone. I had visited the Shen family estate twice to see old Master Shen, but he wasn't at the estate either. I sat by the window, dialing Shen King's number once again. The call still didn't go through. I could only follow the voicemail prompt and leave a message. "Shen King, where are you?" The other end of the line was silent, but my heart felt like a chunk had been hollowed out. Even though I had been abroad for the past 2 years, Shen King had flown over to see me almost every week. The alarm clock rang. I stood up. The team members outside were already prepared. "Coach, are we starting now?" I put down my phone and said, "Let's begin." This was the first training session for the National Gaming Tournament, and it would determine which team we would face first. So we had to take it seriously. 2 hours later, everyone let out a deep breath. I also smiled in satisfaction. "Well done. Keep up the good work." Time flew by, and 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Shen King had completely disappeared, while Liu Yi had returned to the public eye. Only this time, not as an actress, but as a director. During an interview with reporters, she said, "I used to be too proud and missed out on precious people and things. Now I want to find them back. I hope it's not too late." But I had no idea about any of this. The tournament was getting closer and closer, and I began to feel increasingly nervous and anxious. On the other hand, Shen King had been gone for too long. I often dreamed in the middle of the night that something had happened to Shen King and woke up with a start. I couldn't deny it. Shen King had long become an irreplaceable part of my life. I simply didn't have the time or energy to worry about anything else. That day, After finishing training with the team, I received an anonymous package. Inside were 2 theater tickets. The play was called The Wounded Summer. I held the tickets and looked at them, then searched online, only to find out that the play was directed by Liu Yi. It turned out that during Liu Yi's absence, she was working on this play. She had even written the script herself. It was based on our story. I fumbled a bit. Eventually, I tucked the 2 tickets away in a drawer. After a long time, I once again picked up my phone to call Shen King. This time, the ringtone rang outside the office. I stared at the door in disbelief and slowly walked toward it, gently pushing the door open. Shen King stood there, pulling a huge suitcase. I stared at her in a daze for a long time. She said a lot. In that moment, countless memories flashed through my mind like a carousel. The worries I had been suppressing were finally released. My eyes instantly turned red. I hugged Shen King tightly. No one knew how worried I had been, how panicked I was. Suddenly, I grabbed her shoulders and pushed her away, yelling, "Why didn't you answer your phone? Do you know that I was about to call the police?" Throughout all the time we spent together, I had always been calm and patient. No matter how harshly Shen King spoke, no matter how excessive her actions were, I had never gotten this angry. I had never yelled at her like this. Shen King froze, then quickly came to her senses. She coaxed, all right. This was my fault." With a loud bang, I slammed the door shut. Shen King stared at the closed door in front of her. Suddenly, she felt powerless. Ever since leaving the old mansion that day, she had been thinking nonstop. Someone like her, born to have whatever she wanted. Someone like that has been by my side for the past 2 years. But for what reason? If at the beginning it was just for fun, then what about later? Even Shen King couldn't understand. Did she truly have feelings for me? But that morning, standing at the studio door, watching Liu Yi sit down, seeing my expression, Shen King thought, maybe I still hadn't let go. So she chose to leave, to give me time, and give herself time too. We both needed time and space to find a certain answer. Shen King turned off her phone and went to Tibet with a few friends, to the desert, to no man's land. For 3 months, she traveled very far. She saw a lot of scenery. Her body was exhausted, but every time she lay down, she couldn't help but think of me. She couldn't help but think, this scenery should have been seen with me. After taking a shower, Shen King wiped her hair while looking at her phone. On it was the premiere announcement for the play. She recalled 3 days ago, sitting on the grassland watching Liu Yi's interview, and feeling her heart tighten. She packed up overnight and got into the car. She said to her companions, "I'm heading back. You guys keep having fun." Shen King thought she had already found the answer in her heart. The next morning, as soon as I opened the door, I saw Shen King standing there holding breakfast. She said, "The kid said you've been sleeping at the studio lately and not eating properly. I'm being kind today and bringing you some treats." Ignoring my cold face, she walked into my office and laid out the breakfast one by one. If it were before, I might have bantered with her, but now I really wasn't in the mood. I picked up the porridge in front of me and drank it. Shen King had a slight smile on her lips. She said I must be too nervous and didn't sleep well. The dark circles under my eyes were quite obvious. I instinctively rubbed my eyes. Shen King comforted me, saying it was fine. No need to be nervous. Just believe in your own strength. You were trained in a professional camp abroad. Hardly anyone here can beat you. Sis will take you out to relax tonight. In the evening, I sat in the passenger seat of Shen King's car. I looked at the art museum outside the window. I stiffly asked, "Shen King, why did you bring me here?" Shen King casually replied, "Of course, to watch a play." The theater inside the art museum was already quite full. This was Liu Yi's first play after returning to the entertainment industry. Setting everything else aside, Liu Yi's professional skills were unquestionable, and this was her first public performance. Naturally, everyone was very supportive. I followed Shen King to sit in the middle of the second row. The play hadn't started yet. The curtain was drawn. You couldn't see what was happening inside. After a long while, with the announcer's loud call, the curtain slowly opened. The actor didn't look much like me, but the costume was a perfect replica of how I looked 7 years ago. Even the earring on his ear was identical. My hand resting on my lap couldn't help but clench into a fist. The boy was portraying the former me. Although Liu Yi had made many of the scenes more dramatic and storytelling, everyone present clearly understood that this was the story of Jiang Heoken and Liu Yi. Finally, Liu Yi stood in the center of the stage. She seemed to have completely merged into the painting, as if she was drifting outside the plot. Her gaze fell on me. I know you are leaving, and I know I cannot make you stay. But having you pass by my side was already the most beautiful encounter. The curtain slowly fell, and the hall went dark for a few seconds. During that time, no one made a sound. Everything fell into complete silence. After the silence came thunderous applause. Some audience members even whispered. The acting was incredible. Another day of shedding tears for Jiang Heoken. The audience behind us began slowly filing out. I still sat frozen in my seat, my body stiff. After a long time, all the audience members had left. Only Shen King and I remained. Liu Yi slowly walked into the theater from backstage. She stood at the very front, separated from me by a row of seats. Her gaze gently fell upon me, calm and steady. For the first time, Shen King didn't get angry. When Liu Yi appeared, she thought she should let me face the past calmly. Face everything that once happened. I slowly stood up, clenching the hand hanging at my side. I smiled at Liu Yi and sincerely praised her. Your acting is still as good as it used to be. You'll do even better in the future. I wish you happiness. After speaking, I nodded slightly at Liu Yi, then turned and walked toward the exit. Shen King immediately got up and followed me, but I didn't get into the car. Instead, I walked around it and moved forward. Shen King looked at my back and called out, Jiang Heoken. My footsteps froze. At some point, my eyes had turned red. I took a deep breath to calm myself. I turned around and looked at Shen King. Shen King, what do you take me for? An object that can be passed around. I gave a light laugh. Well, you always thought it was fun to toy with me. Hearing my words, Shen King finally realized she had misunderstood. She walked over and tightly grabbed my hand. She put away her usual dominant attitude. She looked at me very seriously and said, Jiang Heoken, we've known each other for so long. I think I know you very well. But do you? Do you really understand yourself? You always say you've let go, but when you receive something from her, you still get distracted. You still hesitate. You've never truly faced that past calmly. Have you? When I boarded the plane to Beijing, I fell asleep. In my dreams, I saw Shen King again, standing in front of me saying those words. But Shen King didn't know that during the time she disappeared, I had already figured out my feelings. That past we shared did leave a deep scar on my heart. But I never thought I couldn't face it. Who hasn't loved the wrong person in their life? The plane landed smoothly. I slowly opened my eyes, looked at the seat next to me, and then looked toward a corner in the distance. Shen King was wearing a mask and a baseball cap, sitting in the cramped seats of economy class. She had said angrily she wouldn't come, yet here she was. I stood up and led my teammates out. Shen King silently followed behind. On the second day after arriving in Beijing, our entire team began closed-door training. We cut off all contact with the outside world. Before shutting off my phone, I sent a message to Shen King. Shen King, I'll tell you my answer after the competition. When Shen King received the message, she was spacing out in the car. Looking at the message on her phone, she suddenly smiled. At that moment, on the electronic billboard nearby, Liu Yi's image appeared. The once cold movie queen seemed like a completely different person after her comeback. If in the past, Liu Yi only had her ideals in her eyes, then now, her eyes were filled only with me. For me, she was willing to do many things she would never have done before. Like developing a game. Like becoming the ambassador for the gaming competition just to meet me. When I learned that West City Miss was developed by Liu Yi, I immediately guessed that I would meet Liu Yi at the gaming competition. What surprised me was that Liu Yi didn't appear as the game company's owner, but as the ambassador. Inside the restaurant, Liu Yi walked slowly toward me with a glass of red wine. Heoken, I wish you success in the competition. I lightly clinked glasses with her. Thank you, I said, taking a small sip. Then I called my teammates over to sit down. The boys glanced at me, then at Liu Yi. Liu Yi sat opposite me. Every time she tried to speak, the boys would interrupt, saying, Coach, these chicken wings are really good, do you want some? Coach, the bread is so soft, try some. Coach, the fried pasta is amazing. Want a bite? I glanced at them, and the boys immediately fell silent. I understood they were doing it on purpose. Looking at Liu Yi, I smiled apologetically. Sorry, they're still young. Please don't mind them. Liu Yi froze for a moment, then shook her head and said, It's fine. I didn't say anything more. After the meal, I wandered around the resort garden. As I was about to leave, I bumped into Liu Yi again. She was holding a bouquet of yellow roses. She called out, Heoken. I stood still. Liu Yi's voice slowly sounded. It seems I've never properly apologized to you, but I still want to say, I'm sorry. My eyes fell on Liu Yi's face. I could clearly see in her affectionate eyes a mix of sorrow and guilt. She was genuinely apologizing. I didn't know, Jiang Heoken. I didn't know how much you had suffered back then. I smiled faintly, Liu Yi. I accept your apology. But those things, none of them, were forced on me by you, right? Liu Yi's expression grew serious. Looking at my face, she felt a sharp pain deep in her heart. Was there really no possibility left between us? I looked at the bouquet of yellow roses. If I remembered correctly, yellow roses symbolize an apology, but they also represent lost love. I spoke again, slowly. Liu Yi, look ahead. After speaking, I walked forward, brushing past her. But after taking only a few steps, a heavy thud suddenly sounded behind me. I quickly turned around, only to see Liu Yi had collapsed onto the ground. Falling into unconsciousness, she was clutching her abdomen tightly, her face deathly pale, completely drained of color.